In addition to being very, very, very good friends of mine, they're the most amazing musicians that I can think of. I want you all to yell really loud for Bratmobile.
Lauren and I were talking about things that we could be doing out of this, and she said, oh, we should have a Lady Palooza, traveling bands on tour kind of thing. But not like Lilith, or like not, you know, more like independent bands. And I was like, no, it's too hard. Let's do a festival, like a girl festival, where we can kind of control every aspect of it, you know, have it be like women run in every way.
Well, I've been working on Ladyfest since the very beginning. It was really amazing.
Felt so powerless for years, or like that there just wasn't a forum to be speaking about these things anymore once Riot Grrrl kind of fizzled out, and just realizing that no, these things are still important to all of us.
There was the spark in the air, you know, that some people really wanted things to change.
I know a lot of us girls had been hanging out in Olympia and talking and, you know, doing our fanzines and girls. We're definitely girl identified and oriented at that point. And there was like Bikini Kill, there's Bratmobile, and then like Heavens to Betsy and all that stuff.
Riot Grrrl started, to my recollection, with Allison Wolf and Molly Newman, and they made a fanzine called Riot Grrrl, and a bunch of us wrote for it.
I wanted to start a magazine. Actually, I wanted to start a magazine or some kind of project, right? And I was moving to DC. And I didn't really want to start one if there weren't women in DC who were interested.
We'd been out there, I think, the spring before, because we would do these spring breaks and stuff, and just go to DC and hang out and stuff, and started networking with people out here. And there was this girl, Jen Smith, who lived out here. She had been talking to us about the Cinco de Mayo riots that had happened in this neighborhood. And she was like, now we need like a girl riot.
Sharon Cheslow had done band in DC, and so I talked to her about it, and she thought it was a cool idea. And so we invited some women over to the house that I was staying at.
They came over and like we started talking about starting a magazine and would people be into it. And we didn't call it Riot Grrrl, or there was nothing supposedly at that point to do with Riot Grrrl, but it was like this first sort of meeting, and it ended up everyone kind of just wanted to talk and like get women together and then figure it out.
Since all of us girls were transplanted to DC for the summer, we kind of all started doing that. And so I think between Toby having this term of like angry girl zines, grrr, or grrr tiger grrr, maybe it's a Go Team phrase, and then Jen Smith saying we need the girl riots or something. I think that's kind of how the actual word came about. It's like, oh, let's do this thing called Riot Grrrl.
Either Allison or this girl Molly that were in Bratmobile had sent me this Riot Grrrl kind of manifesto thing that was like Riot Grrrl is this, Riot Grrrl is that. and I just put it in my fanzine.
We called another meeting, and this time at Positive Force House, and Allison and I actually went to a show, I think it was like Verbal Assault or something, and we got on the mic and told people about it.
And we had this meeting, and I think like about 20 people came, and for a lot of them, it was all women, it was only women. Just to sort of like meet. Like we didn't even know what was going to happen. It was just like, what if a bunch of women met? What would happen?
Sub pop shows are really gross because the girls always get pushed to the back and it's all this like sweaty boy, long hair, beer belly thing in the front. It's just really annoying. It's like girls need to reclaim the scene for themselves, I think.
It's hard to go to shows and be a girl. Even just going to a show was like, you know, it was a really violent atmosphere to be in if you're a woman. So I think the moment was really right, and it was a really spontaneous thing that happened.
I mean, I could tell all sorts of stories about egregious examples of the male domination of the DC hardcore scene. One example, literally at one DC hardcore show in the summer of 1982, the audience, aka the men in the audience, began to chant a sophomoric slogan: "Girls are poop, girls are poop."
A lot of people were driven away in the early to mid 80s by the violence. Particularly, I think women, they moved away from the front of the stage and eventually they left the room.
It started just because I would go to punk shows all the time and stuff, and I'd always be all these, you know, boy punk bands, and like I totally get the thing where guys would like, "Can you hold my coat?"
There would be girls standing all around the corners holding these jackets, and then there would be the boys with their shirts off playing, you know, playing the hardcore music. And I remember being in there and not feeling particularly like I loved this music or anything, but I loved the energy and I loved kind of what was going on. But I remember looking around and being like, why are all these girls standing there holding these jackets? And I remember overhearing another person there go, "Those are the coat hangers."
Michelle and I were really into straight edge hardcore stuff, and there's no girls in that. There's still no girls in that, hardly at all, anyways. And so it was like we were balancing this thing with like we're really into the hardcore scene and being the only girls, and then kind of using Riot Grrrl to balance it out to get our feminism part into like our lifestyle.
I would say my feminism is just like basically just reactionary to like everything I responded to.
Maybe it's just my parents taught me to always be an individual and to believe in myself.
When my mom read Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan, I think that's what kicked it off. That's my suspicion.
That led me to, you know, kind of lay down the groundwork for being an outspoken feminist.
She took me to one march, Solidarity Day, in DC, and Bella Abzug spoke. And there are all these women, and we got these t-shirts that said,
"A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle." I was really into that. I thought that was really, at like age 10 or 11 or whatever I was, I thought that was really cool.
I think when I first saw feminism as something that related to me was when I was taking film classes and I learned about feminist theory.
I don't really consider myself a feminist, but that may well be a result of never studying ists of any sort.
Something that was around me a lot was the very sort of defiant and outspoken, strong ladies, like my mom and her sister in particular, were part of this big family, and they were like the sisters who nobody wanted to mess with, you know? And in fact, my Aunt Liz, who is a year older than my mom, she actually was a WWF wrestler when I was a kid. And she, Luscious Liz Chase in the 80s, she like wrestled Wendy Richter. And I remember being, you know, like 9 years old, and I would, like, as she came out to do her wrestling matches, I would be like her, like, support girl, you know, like the water boy, but I was the support girl.
I had this boyfriend in my freshman year who was like on the swim team. He was total jock. Came over and I broke up with him. He was really just furious, and he like threw some pan of my mom's across the room, and it put a hole in the wall and broke the handle off, and you know, just real anger control problems. And then I was just kind of freaked out, and he left the house. I went upstairs, and my sister and my friends were actually up in my bedroom, and they were all just kind of like giggling and gossiping and stuff, and they were like, what's going on? And he, I guess, you know, came back in the house. Meanwhile, he had heard them. One of the girls had this nervous laugh, and she was kind of laughing. And then he's like, Allison, come here. And I went out there, and he grabbed me by the collar and, you know, held me up against the wall and was like, don't laugh at me. And I just was, whoa, you know, freaked out. And when he left the house, then I just, something in me clicked, you know, where it's just like, my life is changing right now.
It was only until I moved to Olympia and I sort of heard the music of Riot Grrrl that I made an emotional connection with feminism, I think.
My parents had all the John and Yoko albums.
And I remember liking the Yoko Ono stuff the best, and I remember being like 7 years old and singing like, you know, these weird songs. You know, I never heard anything like that in my life. Like somebody singing a song and being like, sanity, oh sanity, where did you go? Come back, you know? And I would sing that to myself, like other kids were singing Free to Be You and Me or something, and I was running around my house, sanity, oh sanity, because I was like my favorite song. So I would count her as a big force in just like thinking like, wow, you can have a voice that's so different from all this other stuff you hear.
When I first started listening to like what would be considered like feminist kind of stuff, would maybe be like Queen Latifah, and like I always was drawn to like women doing stuff. I mean, like my first like some of my favorite was like Joan Jett. I liked Joan Jett when I was younger.
I was very influenced by the slits and the raincoats and the modettes and Kleenex, Lilliput, and I really wanted to be in a band. I saw other people in Washington, D.C. in bands. All the guys were picking up instruments and being in bands, and I thought, well, I want to do it too, because I had been playing electric guitar since I was 13 years old. Why not?
And then I got into making music when I was in college, and my artwork was censored by the school.
And I was really pissed off, and we were like, let's start a gallery. So we started a gallery, and then in order to fund the gallery, we got bands, like local bands from Olympia, to play shows.
I started listening to like a lot of K record stuff. I remember I saw Calamity Jane, their all-girl band, who was from Portland. I think that really just kind of got me thinking. Also one night, Kathleen Hanna and her band played there once, and they were called Viva Knievel, and she was the singer. I think I missed most of it. I just saw the one song, but it was called Boy Poison, or the words went like that, and I was like, wow, what's this, you know? I think those, both Calamity Jane and seeing Kathleen, that kind of influenced me in this way. I was like, oh, girls do music, all right.
I wanted to learn bass and people would laugh at me, you know, and I wasn't encouraged at all to play music even by my boyfriend.
I was really interested in independent music for a long time, and I never really considered it was something that I could do, you know, until I saw bands like Bikini Kill and Bratmobile playing, and I saw women doing it, you know, their own way.
And then I saw Bikini Kill, and I was like, didn't know what to think of it, because all the boys that I was friends with are like, they suck, you know, like, who do they think they are? And they have so much attitude.
We want revolution!
I was just like, with a couple of girlfriends, like, oh my God, like secretly, like, they're amazing, they're so rad, we want to do that.
Bikini Kill's first show at DC Space is pretty much legendary. People were just blown away.
they were incredible. Like, that show just was incredible.
It's one of those landmark shows where you just, the impact reverberates the whole scene.
Being a feminist, having these feminist friends who were like, you can do anything, you know? And then having a music scene that was really supportive and was like, oh, you don't have to be, you know, rich or like have music lessons or whatever, or like live in Los Angeles or New York. It's like you can make music right from where you're at. I gave a talk at Blair High School in DC
about sexual assault, and I got there and it turned out I was the testimonial, but I thought I was the expert.
So I had to switch my whole speech and like talk about myself, and I wasn't prepared to do that. But it ended up really interesting. Like I felt like I did a really good job, and I really connected with the women at the school.
And I met one young woman during that time who was really incredible and courageous, and shared her story with me, and later came to the Riot Grrrl convention.
We put on this show that's behind this theater at this place that was called the Uncola, and it was, I think it was $4 at the door, but $3 if you wore a dress, including guys. So there were a lot of guys that showed up in dresses, and I actually think it was $3 for girls, $4 for guys, and $3 if the guys wore a dress. So we did a lot of things like that that made people really mad, and a lot of guys really questioned why they had to pay more, you know, and I think there were a lot of things that were, you know, they were really like cheeky, confrontational things that we used to kind of throw in, and we would get in huge fights all the time.
The whole year of 1991 was just really crucial, I think, in my development and getting into all this stuff, and it was just a really high time for everything. It felt like everything was changing, like the social landscape, at least in our lives, was changing dramatically, you know. It's like girls were just taking over the whole punk rock scene, you know, of Olympia at least. It all kind of culminating, you know, in this end of the summer back in Olympia at this festival that was going on for a week or a weekend or something that K Records put on.
Girl Night at IPU was the most incredible night.
First night of the festival was Girl Night, and it was awesome. There was just, you know, a million girls on the list performing in whatever capacity.
All the people that were involved with the planning were either playing or doing something else, so I kind of got roped into like being sort of a stage manager type thing, and it lasted until like 3 o'clock in the morning or some totally insane thing.
You didn't have to be a real band or That was the first night Heavens to Betsy ever played, I think, that I ever saw.
I was in the front row, as a matter of fact, for the entire thing. And I saw Heavens to Betsy, and I saw Corn's first, I think it was her first show. She was great, man.
Powerful, and I just was crying. I just remember crying when they played, and I was so happy that this was happening.
You had this initial explosion, which was really bright, and it went up into the sky, and then as it diffused, you know, it got more and more sort of unclear.
I started inkling, like, you know, a year into it, like, started feeling funny about it, just in terms of my whole position with punk rock and Riot Grrrl, because, you know, it was an odd position to be in. It's to be the only, like, usually, not always the only, but many times only the only person of color there, and, like, feeling like no one gave a shit. You know, like, this was like this empowering movement for them that was really only relative to, you know, a white middle class punk girl.
Bell Hooks. I mean, she influenced like so much of like early Riot Grrrl ideas and stuff like that. And later, like the total appropriation by certain white women in the Riot Grrrl scene of ideas like that Bell Hooks and Barbara Christian and Jean Jordan and other people came up with. Like, I feel like certain white women have taken those ideas and used them in self-serving, idiotic, racist ways.
It just became depressing, that, and like really hurtful to see that, you know, it would only go so far, you know, and that like there was a total like crazy powerful feeling about the whole environment, and like it was exciting, but it was also really sad in the way that, you know, like this is only what it is, you know what I mean? It's only for certain people, and like, and it was extremely frustrating to like start realizing that and start being like, these aren't my people.
I came under intense criticism about the lyrics of the song Suggestion, as well as Reclamation, by people who identify themselves as Riot Grrrls, who felt that I was exploiting women's issues to sell records. And I was told, straight up told, that I had no right to sing those songs, and I had no right to sing those lyrics. And of course my response was, you know, fuck you.
Know who's here, and I don't really know who I'm talking to, but this article got written about us in Option Magazine, and we hate it so much that we're going to do a special song about it. And we hate it for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons is because she totally took everything we said out of context, and it made it sound like we hate a bunch of girls and bands that we don't hate. Like, the specific quote that is really infuriating is she says that I say that Kim Gordon's older than my mom as a diss, and I was saying that to in relation to how cool my mom is. So there you go. And also they say that the only reason why people know about us is because of who we go out with. And then they take things that we say about our friends as bands as if we don't like the help that they've given us. Whatever, it's total bullshit. So the song is sort of about that, and Molly's gonna read it into that microphone while I'm singing.
None of us just had any experience with the media. None of us ever expected that it would be something that would get, I mean, we noticed that it was getting a lot of attention, but we just thought of it in terms of people we knew and just group excitement. And like at IPU convention, it's like, well, here's all these people gathered, this is great, but you didn't really think about it in terms of the media and how you'd be represented and having your image thrown back at you.
The woman from the Seattle Times comes up and
she was just like, I'm doing this story and blah, 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 and you have these lyrics. Can you write the lyrics down for me? And I'm going to do this article and I want to put you in there. And what was the name of your band? And blah, blah, blah. And what was that song? And blah, blah, blah. And I remember Jen and I looking at each other and we were like, we don't want to be in your story.
I ended up doing one, like, sort of interview with this lady, and at last minute I told them I didn't want to do it because it was so weird. Like, they filmed me at a show, and like, it was just odd how I felt really like not in control of what was going on.
It wasn't so much that I had anything against her. It's just like so obvious to me in that moment. She was coming from such a different place. I didn't want to talk to her. 2 weeks later, front page article in the entertainment section of the Seattle Times is this whole article about women in this new upright women performance underground thing. And the whole article starts out with this thing that's like, two girls, how old can they be? You know, like talking about the status quo of blah, 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 and, you know, they're tiny girls and they're so young and blah, 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 and like making us all anonymous and all this stuff. And at first I read it and I was like so mad. I was like, fuck her. And she's like quoting our lyrics and stuff, not giving us any, you know, like who the lyrics are from or anything. And then there was this other part of me that was so happy. And I was just like, wow, you know what? She's right, we're two girls.
We knew what we were doing was really important, but we just never thought about it being like important to people you didn't know, you know, or whatever. Just didn't think beyond that.
USA Today, like, printed, like, did a, you know, a feature, it was like on the front of Newsday, and printed my home address for like 5 of the fanzines. So I got like tons of mail, phone calls, people calling my home.
It was overwhelming to see your friends all of a sudden in magazines and to see the whole world looking basically at the Northwest or something, and people coming in and trying to characterize everything and ending up making caricatures out of everyone.
A lot of the media attention was to our detriment because now it's like Riot Grrrl's a joke to a lot of people.
It was a really hard thing to go through because I think it really tore apart the kind of community feeling that Riot Grrrl had.
I was resented by certain people because I was getting this attention that they weren't getting. And even though I didn't ask for it and I never talked to the press, it was still happening.
When mainstream media really sort of categorized it as being extremely trivial and also had a really aggressive policy with their reporters. They were always trying to get into our shows and into all these things, and they used really deceitful tactics, I found.
But at the time it was really hard because the kind of attention I was getting was actually really negative. I mean, the way it was like feminist visibility in this one way, but it was like
really insulting, like constantly calling me, you know, an abuse survivor and making it out like I'd had all these really fucked up, crazy things happen to me, and that's why I was a feminist.
Basically, a whole history was created that half the stuff is just misinformation, which is kind of weird to me. It's sad because you'll look, this is fact, but it wasn't really what happened. But it's written this way, it's in history that way.
For me personally, it was to the point where I just didn't talk about Riot Grrrl for several years.
They basically came in, the media and dominant culture, and sort of tried to make feminism a fad and a thing of the past.
It felt like an attack. It felt like we were being attacked.
It's so hard for me to say what was this, what is this, because it still is to me. Like, I'm not a different person than I was then, you know, and I still feel as strongly now about, you know, the human condition and the kind of bondage that we put on all different peoples.
I write songs, and that's like a big part of my activism.
People in all walks of life resist, you know what I mean? And it's not like just carrying a picket sign is like the way that you do it, you know what I mean? Although I think it's really important and I like to do that when I can.
Yeah, I'm still an activist. I'll always be an activist until I die.
I consider myself a cultural activist rather than a political activist because I don't organize politics, and I think that I can see though that having women in positions of cultural power is really important for young girls, and I can see that we inspire women, you know, and young women at our shows, and so I think that is an important thing.
I'm working on a label that's, you know, totally supportive of women, and then I can take an active role in, because I do promotion and, you know, promoting girls, bands.
I think one of the things that was different about it is that it focused on what the issues were to be a creative woman, to be young and to be creative. Whereas I think previous feminism dealt with more economic issues. What was it like to be out in the workplace and not earning as much? Or what was it like to have children and not have daycare? Well, none of us had children. And even though we all had jobs and had maybe dealt with sexism on the job, our main focus was being writers and musicians and filmmakers and artists, and how that impacted our lives. And for us, I think that's how it was different. It was reclaiming feminism for our lives.
What you saw was an immense uprising in terms of female participation, ownership, and inspiration of the punk scene.
I just see it as like a young feminist movement, you know, as like a division of feminist movement. And it's not like the only branch of feminism, and it's not like the right branch of feminism, but it seems like what it's become is like a place where younger girls, like younger than me,
can feel included and hang out and like make mistakes and make great choices and learn a lot, you know, and share with each other.
Their spirit was incredible, and their energy, their constructiveness, that aspect of the constructive aspects of their energy was perfect. I mean, it was so cool.
Because you see the possibility that it could be different, because people do not accept the world that is as the world that must be.
I think that Riot Grrrl had, I guess, lasting effects on people. I mean, even if it just ended up, maybe even through mainstream media, getting to someone who was like maybe living in a small town somewhere in the Midwest or whatever, you know, to feel like she had backup. And that's good. You know, if it affected any girls positively, then I think that's good.
Riot Grrrl gave people the tools and the language to maybe create community and talk with each other about what really is important and what, you know, how do we, you know, create the networks that allow us to follow our bliss.
Even in the 80s, if I went to go see a punk band and there was a woman drumming, I would say, yeah, they're cool, there's a girl drumming. If I see a band now, it never occurs to me what the gender is.
I was carrying Dave's drums into this Nirvana show at school because they gave me a ride. The person at the door goes, "Are you in the band?" And I was like, God, I can't believe she said that, because like even when I carry my own drums into my own shows, like they act like I'm somebody's girlfriend carrying in the drums, you know what I mean? I thought, wow, that was really cool, and it made me think, well, maybe things are changing.
It was intent on reaching people on a personal level, which affects people on a greater scale.
Just to have that kind of support and encouragement was very important. And yes, it definitely did change my life.
Changed me. I'm speaking as a man. I'm speaking as a man who was in his 30s when this happened.
Whether or not we change the world, you know, I think that's maybe not the point. I think the point is that, you know, making a small difference and you know, making someone's situation a little bit better it's a great step, you know. So I'm really happy that it exists.
Imagine what it must have done for the people, for the girls who were in their teens, who suddenly came to believe that the drama of punk was their drama. In fact, the drama of life was their drama, and they will not be denied.
All Riot Grrrl was or is to me is about realizing, you know, that you have a unique voice that's important, you know, as a woman on this planet, and realizing that you then have a duty to, you know, allow yourself and the people around you, the women around you, to have the opportunity to express that unique voice as well.
And that's what the revolution is a lot about, fighting those things that keep us divided and listening to each other and not saying this is what feminism is, or this is what a girl band is, or this is what this is, but just opening up a discourse for women and saying it's really important that we're girls and it's really important that we're doing things, and we're claiming that what we're doing is important.
This is for the Riot Grrrls. That girl thinks she's the queen of the neighborhood. She's got the